some more insignificant events in the life of a cactus. It's been a few days, but in that time we've had some glorious weather outside, so I thought I'd sit outside again and record a few more chapters. I hope all of you are doing well and enjoying the book. Chapter 23. Christmas at Stagecoach Pass was actually pretty cool. My parents decided it was worth it to hire a company to come in and decorate the park with lights and a big tree in the middle of the main street. We pulled all the old Christmas decorations out of storage and placed them around the park. Things like wreaths made of horseshoes and cowboy boots filled with fake poinsettias. Dad made sure the company he hired strung lights over the covered wagon that marked the entrance. They also added the word Christmas after Stagecoach Pass, so everyone would know something a little different was going on. I had the idea to set up a booth that sold hot cocoa and s'mores fixings, and we lit fires in a couple of the old metal garbage cans. I had never expected the Arizona nights to get so cold. The weather even dipped below freezing a couple of times. I actually got to wear my earmuffs while I stood outside with Connor roasting marshmallows over the fire. Well, he roasted marshmallows for me. I didn't exactly need my toes freezing off. "It's too bad Zion's gone for winter break," I said. Zion and his family were spending 2 weeks in New Zealand. They'd gone all the way to the other side of the world to visit the movie sets from The Lord of the Rings. My dad had raised an eyebrow when I told him that and said, "I've got to meet these people." "Zion told me it's actually summer down there right now," I said. "How weird is that?" Connor didn't answer as he looked around and barked nervously. The roasting sticks he held over the fire shook a little. "This place is busier than ever," he said and barked. The people roasting marshmallows across from us stared at him. "Don't let it scare you off," I said. Connor looked offended. "I won't. I mean, as long as it doesn't get too busy." I raised an eyebrow at him. "What qualifies as too busy?" Connor shrugged. "Busier than this." "Well, I hope that's not true because I would miss you." "I'm sure it will be dead again once Christmas is over," Connor said, which was obviously reassuring to him, but not to me. I didn't want the park to get dead again. Connor pulled a marshmallow off the stick and shoved it into my mouth. "Then things can just go back to normal." "I don't want no," I said, my mouth stuffed full of marshmallow. "Huh?" I swallowed. "I don't want it to go back to normal. I want it to stay busy. You realize if the park closes down, my parents lose their jobs and we probably have to move again." Connor frowned. "Yeah, I didn't think of that." He stuffed another marshmallow into my mouth. "Then I hope it stays busy, just as long as it doesn't get too busy." We invited Connor and his mom over for Christmas Eve. We held a dinner in the steakhouse and invited all the employees who didn't have any family to spend it with. Mom and Dad ordered 3 big turkeys. "What can I do to help?" I asked Josephine, who was ordering everyone around in the kitchen. They were busy making cornbread stuffing, mashed potatoes, corn, and of course cowboy beans, cornbread, and coleslaw, which I would most definitely not be eating. Coleslaw was ruined for me for life and would forevermore be known as pit slaw. Josephine handed me a masher. "Why don't you mash up them potatoes?" She stuck the giant pot of potatoes on the floor for me, and I worked on handling the masher with my feet. Several of the employees stopped to watch, but Josephine told them all to skedaddle. "Those will be the best mashed potatoes you ever put in your mouth," she snapped at anyone who raised an eyebrow at me mashing the potatoes. At one point, Henry walked in. He put his hands on his hips. "Aaron Kavanaugh!" he scolded. "What are you doing with your feet in the food?" I didn't think Josephine could have looked more shocked than if a tarantula the size of a horse had trampled through the room. "You crazy old kook," she said to Henry. "Don't you know her name by now? Get out of here and make yourself useful." She shooed him out of the room, and neither one of them returned. When I was done with the potatoes, I peeked my head through the swinging doors of the kitchen. I watched Connor and his mom sitting at a table together with my mom, talking and laughing. I knew this was the first time that he had eaten in a restaurant together since Connor's tics had started. So I was glad to see Connor looked so comfortable, although he didn't eat that much during dinner. As we all sat together at the table, I whispered to Connor, "Henry just called me Avon Kavanaugh in the kitchen." He scrunched up his nose. "Like you said, he gets really confused." I picked up my fork with my toes and stabbed a big bite of turkey. I guess he does keep confusing me for someone else, but why would he think I was a Kavanaugh? Connor shrugged. "Maybe you look like a Kavanaugh." I shoved the bite of turkey in my mouth and chewed as I thought about this. If only we could find that missing picture from the museum, I said. Maybe that would tell us something. We'll just have to keep searching the storage shed. There's got to be something in all that junk. I nodded as I stabbed another chunk of turkey. I hope so. That evening, Mom and Dad gave me my Christmas present, a pair of turquoise and silver earrings they had purchased from a Navajo woman. I thought if I ever got that necklace cleaned up and maybe got a new chain for it, it would look nice with my new earrings. I also thought this Navajo woman should come and sell her jewelry at Stagecoach Pass. Actually, I couldn't stop thinking of things we should do at the park. I had a lot of ideas. Later that night, I dragged Dad out to go tarantula hunting. I'd done this several times before. I had become obsessed with finding a live tarantula. He held the flashlight for me so I could sneak up on any holes I had found earlier in the day, thinking they might be tarantula burrows. But I never did find one, no matter how much I searched. I began to wonder if I ever would. All right, chapter 23. I love the warm, fuzzy feeling we're getting at Christmas time. I know the holidays always bring out the best in a lot of people, and Connor and his mom actually get to feel a part of a community. With Connor's habit of spitting food when he eats, he's very, very embarrassed to go out in public and have a meal outside of his home. And this was really reassuring for Avon to see that her friend was looking so comfortable and relaxed, celebrating with a whole bunch of people at the holidays. Very heartwarming indeed. Also, can you imagine Avon outside at night tarantula hunting with just her feet? It kind of gave me the heebie-jeebies. If one crawled up her, she wouldn't have hands to brush it off. So that kind of tells me that because she's doing that, a character trait that would explain this would be brave or courageous. She's not afraid of creepy crawlies and going out at night to look for them in the dark with her dad. It just kind of shows what a tough little gal she is. All right, let's continue with chapter 24. The fun and success of Christmas had me thinking a lot about Stagecoach Pass. The park had gotten old and tired. Everyone in town had visited at one point and didn't feel the need to come back. There was no draw. Even the food at the steakhouse probably got old because they only served a few different things. Something needed to change, or there wouldn't be a Stagecoach Pass for very long. And then, who knew where we'd go? My parents were so busy keeping up with all the little tasks that went into running the place that they didn't have time to see the bigger picture. But I did. As we sat down one chilly January night for dinner together, I told them my ideas. You know, I walked through Stagecoach Pass yesterday and I counted 17 empty storefronts, I said, as I took a bite of a roll. 17. Dad sighed. I know, this place is like a ghost town. It makes the place look sad, I said. We need to get some stuff in here for people to do. Stuff for people to buy. It takes money to fill the buildings with employees and merchandise, Mom said. I frowned. Can't we take out a loan? I heard you have to spend money to make money. Dad laughed. Where'd you hear that? On a commercial. Well, that may be true sometimes, Dad said, but I think the park already took out a couple of loans, just to keep going. I'd have to talk to Gary about that, but I don't think that's an option. Isn't there some other way to get stuff in here? I said. Dad took a swig of his water. I suppose we could rent the spaces, but then we'd have to worry about finding businesses and what kind of businesses should be allowed to rent here. Of course, I said. We would want it all to be cowboyish. I eyed both of them. You know, I've been writing down ideas for a while now. Ideas for the park. We'd love to hear your ideas, sweetie, Mom said. I went back to my room, grabbed my notebook, and returned to the table. I opened it with my toes. Things that Stagecoach Pass needs to do to bring in business. I read aloud. Number 1. I looked at them dramatically. A lighter food option. We have the steakhouse for a big, fat, heavy, greasy meal, and we have the soda shop for a large ice cream sundae when you only ask for a single scoop cone. But there's no deli or sandwich shops or anything like that for a nice little lunch. I could tell they liked the idea, so I went on. Number 2, coffee and smoothies. Whenever Mom and I go shopping, I notice the malls always have some kind of coffee and smoothie place. Number 3, more shopping. Jewelry, Navajo jewelry like the earrings you bought me, a cool leather shop, and a hat store that specializes in custom cowboy hats. Stuff like that. Wow, Avon, Dad said. Those are all great ideas. It's just complicated, honey. How is it complicated? Well, Mom said, for one thing, how do we even find these vendors? I shrugged and went back to eating my dinner. Sorry that my ideas had fallen flat. Then I remembered Mr. Jeffries, my art teacher, telling us about an art festival in a town called Fountain Hills that was happening next weekend. He encouraged us all to go and check out the local artists' work. There's a giant art festival in Fountain Hills next weekend, I said. There will be like 500 artists. Maybe we could find some cool vendors there. Mom and Dad looked at each other. I suppose it wouldn't hurt to go check it out. Mom said, might be fun. And what if we had our own art festival, I said, getting excited now with artists and food and music and fireworks. Mom and Dad both laughed. Oh, let's not get ahead of ourselves, Dad said, but I couldn't help it. My mind was going crazy now. It's a great opportunity for the artists to check out Stagecoach Pass and see if they might want to rent a space here. Main Street is huge. We could have a huge art festival. You should have it by early April, before it gets too hot outside. Oh, and I saw this show about food trucks and... Slow down, Sheebs, Dad said. How about we start with visiting this festival and see how it goes from there? But if we're going to have our own art festival, the best way to let the artists know would be to tell them about it at this art festival in Fountain Hills. I'd have to get approval before doing anything, Dad said. You mean from the dead owner? Dad laughed. Avon, the owner is not dead. And yes, I'd have to get approval from the very much alive owner. But I thought you said he gave you a total free reign over the park. There are also permits and a whole bunch of other stuff to take care of, Dad said. Then get on it, Daddy-o. Time's a-wasting. He looked at me with pride in his eyes. My daughter, the ultimate problem solver. You have trained me well, Jedi Master, I said. Very good, Jedi learner person. I rolled my eyes at him. Not quite, Dad. Zion's parents would have had a way better comeback. So, speaking of dead owners, Mom said, what's going on with your top secret investigation? Find any more clues about the Kavanaughs? Not really. The guitar was the last thing that we found. The boys had brought it up to the apartment for me and I'd shown it to my parents. They thought it was pretty cool, but it didn't really tell us anything about the Kavanaughs. And just because the last initial was C didn't mean that it had belonged to a Kavanaugh. But you know how I told Henry always likes to talk to me like he thinks I'm someone else? They nodded. Well, he called me Avon Kavanaugh on Christmas Eve. Don't you think that's kind of weird? Mom and Dad looked at each other. That is mildly intriguing, said Dad. Strange, said Mom, but he did call me Elizabeth Taylor the other day. She ran a hand through her long dark hair. Easy to see how he could make that mistake, of course. I had no idea who Elizabeth Taylor was, but Dad said absolutely, as he carried his empty plate to the sink. I have to go check out the old building with the broken down bowl. One of the workers told me they peeked in the window and saw a bunch of mice running around. He groaned. Ugh. The keys in the office are all such a mess. I hope I can figure out which one opens it. What keys? I asked him. Keys of the park, he said. The most important ones are all labeled, but there are about 50 that I have no idea what they're for. I have a feeling I'm going to be there all night trying out keys. I didn't know you had all those keys, I said. Of course I have keys, Sheebs. I can't run this place without keys. Well, it just so happens that I'm looking for a key. Do you guys remember what key that she was looking for? Think about their mystery and the clues that they found so far. I love that we see how Avon is just a fountain of ideas in this chapter. She really seems to be lit on fire with ideas for making the park better. She definitely has an interest in the park succeeding because that's how her family makes money. And if the park has to close, then that would mean a terrible situation for her family. So you can see why she would be so animated and excited about that. All right, that's all for today. I hope you enjoy this glorious weather, and I'll see you next time.